Alright, so we're here with Alex Whalen. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the music that you perform, why you like that music or choose that music. I do want to talk a little bit about your guitar here, so let's talk about what you've got, kind of your road warrior guitar.
Well, I've had this about close to 20 years. It's a reissue of a 1963 Gibson J45. They used to have adjustable bridges, but I had that nonsense taken out and just had a regular fixed bridge put in there, which I'm doing with my hummingbirds right now. Hunter over at 7C Music's got my hummingbird right now, and he's gonna take care of it, and I love this thing. It's been all around the world with me. I played it in front of millions of people, and I do need to retire it soon, because I don't know if you can see that, but it's kind of all cracking and stuff. I mean, yeah, it's wore in. Like me, it's wore in, not quite wore out yet.
Yeah. Let's talk about the wood choice, because when we've been guitar shopping before, you are kind of specific about your preferences on guitar wood. So let's talk about that.
I think that's why I tend to gravitate towards the Gibsons, because nice piece of Sitka spruce, but the mahogany back and sides. I know mine do the D18s and everything, and they're just not really for me. The short scale length and the tone with the mahogany. That's what does it for me. I think it really suits my voice rather than the kind of like boomy rosewood stuff. But yeah, these especially the '60s ones, they really do things for me.
And why Gibson versus another guitar option? I mean, obviously, as you know, when you're performing acoustic, there are other famous makers out there who are well known for their acoustic
and
guitars.
I've tried them all, and I've always gone back to these. It's funny, I was never really an acoustic player until I had to go out on the road on my own. I was always an electric player, and I always played Les Pauls. You know, you've been in my studio, it's covered in them. I love the things. And then when I was going to go and be an acoustic player, thankfully I'd made a great choice 20 years ago in buying this. I mean, there's a reason everybody plays these things, you know, in pop and rock music. They're easy to play. Once you get the hang of it, they're just Gibson just always they've had their troubles in the past, but they're back to making really good stuff. I've played some stuff. We've been out looking at the new offerings from Gibson, and I'm gonna have to get my hands on a couple of new guitars this year, because I'm gonna have to retire this one at some point before I do something horrible to it. So.
All right. I want to talk about songs, and we can get you warmed up a little bit too for that. So, you've got obviously several songs that are super popular on YouTube right now, but there's some lesser known songs we're going to kind of dive into, and some newer stuff too that you've added to your catalog. But let's talk about, a lot of people associate you as a British country artist. You got that label.
It's the hat.
It's the hat. And you got that label when you were on a certain television show.
Yes, indeed.
But you have really diverse influences. But in that is bluegrass. And so let's talk a little bit about that.
It's always nice when you see a bluegrass band whenever you're out and about. I'm not like the Rocky Top kind of guy, you know. It's I like the real stuff, and especially like the newer stuff, like the Sturgill Simpsons and the Tyler Childers, where you know they're actually singing about real problems that they have, or real country music, you know, where they used to call it 3 chords and the truth instead of 3 chords and beers and pickup trucks, you know. these guys actually go out and they, you know, they're talking about the problems they grew up with, and you know, their families growing up in the mines, and you know, and through all that and illness, and how people have got addicted to, you know, the modern problems, and that kind of that's not that's kind of not really considered modern country these days, but there's still people out there doing it, and it's the same with the bluegrass guys. You know, you want to. I mean, Billy Strings. People know who Billy Strings is. He's a flat picker. You know, I mean, when was the last time mainstream people knew who Billy Strings was? So I think, you know, there's a market for it, and I think if people like open their eyes to actual, real American music, where it actually came from, there's a ton of it out there. You don't have to put up with garbage.
Do you think that's that label of Americana, which is kind of now where people
It's a catch-all, isn't it, really,
yes.
Unfortunately. And I have a ton of friends of mine who refer to themselves as Americana, which is kind of sad, because there's a lot of great music in this country, and just to chuck it all in together, it was like the grunge thing, you know. Nirvana never sounded like Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains never sounded like Pearl Jam. They didn't all come from Seattle, you know. Some of them were from LA. They were from all over the place, but they were just labelled as the same thing. You know, it's I think you know, echoes of the past. I don't know. It kind of lends itself to that kind of. Oh, it's in drop D as well. It kind of lends itself to that. In the deep dark hills of eastern Kentucky. That kind of thing. I mean, I think I should, rather than, because Darryl Scott did it great, Brad Paisley did it great, I kind of need to change it up a little bit.
Funny that you bring up this discussion about the versions of You'll Never Leave Harlan Alive, because I mean, if you get on if you Google the song or get on any streaming service, you'll see that there are dozens of versions of this song. Why do you think the song is popular to begin with?
I don't know, because I know there's been a couple of covers that have been on TV.
Yeah.
So you can never cross that out. You know, you can never. It's funny. I play obscure songs all the time, and people go, "Oh, I know that song." And you go, "How do you know that?" It's like, "Oh, it's on some TV show I watch." So I don't know. But for me personally, it's one of those stories. You know, it's one of those stories of.
It's a pretty dark story.
Yeah.
I mean, in bluegrass, they would talk about murder ballads and things like that.
It's Kentucky, you know. It's Kentucky, and it's early 20th century, you know, that kind of story, and that's where these people came from, and they all died in the mines, and that's just how it was. And yeah, the sun comes up at 10 in the morning and goes down at 3 in the day because they live in a valley, and then they spend their entire lives in the dark, and then they die in the dark, and it's just one of those things. It's not, you know, it's not about. It doesn't have to be about good times and you know, and beer and dirt roads and pickups, and it's, you know, it should be about real life, and not everybody is happy all the time. And that was kind of the whole point of country music, was like I said before, 3 chords and the truth. But you know, it just seems to be 3 chords and absolute nonsense. But there are still guys out there still doing this stuff, and Darryl Scott was one of them in the 80s and 90s, and it's timeless, you know. There's still tons of people whose families have lived and died in one industry, and it's, you know, and the industry's killed them, and they can't get out. So yeah, I think it's really relevant to any, you know, any generation. So I think maybe that's why it's quite attractive.
So how are you thinking about approaching the song then? You're talking about doing it differently. What are you thinking?
I don't know, like kind of like a little bit more bluesy, and obviously in tune, but I can't really do much about that out here.
Right.
I don't really know, honestly. I smoked a pipe this morning and went back and figured it out again because I haven't played it in a while. When I hit the chords, I was just like, yeah, oh wow, that's actually. But yeah, they just really lend themselves to some my kind of that kind of thing. So I think maybe I'm going to have a little play around with it maybe tonight and
Well, and you mentioned Tyler Childers. There's another song that you have played, and you do cover from time to time,
I do.
which is actually there are a couple of Tyler Childers songs, but White House Road, which is, again, I think truly along that line of what you're talking about as far as songs about,
Absolutely.
that have a deeper meaning and aren't just, country songs about good times. And so.
Yeah, any of his records, and it's all, it all feels real and genuine, which is refreshing these days, I think.
Well, since you're in Drop D, do you want to tune that and play around with a couple of songs that might be in Drop D?
Please. Can't do any Tyler because I haven't got my capo with me.
Right, I understand.
G7 still haven't got back to me about all that.
Yeah. We do want G7 to follow up on that. Yeah. So.
I don't know. I wasn't really prepared for this.
Well, I mean, we can talk about some theory about some things.
Okay.
So, we had this conversation previously about what Drop D is, and you were talking about the fact that obviously when you discuss that, that it might bore guitar players, but at the same time, for people who aren't professional guitar players, because this comes up sometimes when you're performing, and people come up and ask for a song, and it's in Drop D. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, Drop D is usually, you usually tune E to E like that, and then in a Drop D you drop the E down to a D, and that just means that when you're playing in standard tuning, when you're playing in standard tune and you're playing in D, it can sound kind of thin because that's your bottom note. Whereas that's your bottom note in your E. And it just means when you're playing in D, you just get a fuller chord. And there's a lot that happens a lot in country music because country music is quite the key of D major is quite prevalent in country music. D minor as well, but it's a good chord to play fiddle and mandolin in. It just works really well, but it's not a great key for solo guitar. So whenever I do anything that's based around D, I tend to drop the D, and it just makes it a nice big full sound. Just makes it nice and thick. But especially with this guitar, when I tend to do that, it knocks everything else out of tune. So I try to keep all my Drop D stuff in one spot. What I need is another guitar so I can keep that permanently in Drop D. Because obviously I don't have enough guitars, as you're well aware.
Maybe let's talk a little bit about Moondance though, just to talk about the song. Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. So, talking about a diverse range of music, something I don't think people expect is to hear a song like Moondance on acoustic guitar. It's really not one that you see covered that way very often.
Is it not?
No.
I wouldn't know. I tend not to go out to those kind of establishments.
I know you don't. So, but let's talk a little bit about that song, why you chose it. I mean, it is. I mean, for people who are fans of Van Morrison, Moondance is definitely a representation of his jazzy style and jazz. He's a heavily influenced jazz artist in that sense. So, but let's talk about taking Moondance and translating it into an acoustic song.
Him and Jerry Rafferty were incredible. You know, they did quite a lot of work together. Van Morrison, a great artist, and that song Moondance has been. I mean, it's so. When you think, oh my God, that was Van Morrison, you go, that sounds crazy. You know what I mean? It sounds like it should have been like, you know, a Sinatra contemporary kind of. I mean, I guess they overlap because Sinatra is 137 years old when he died, but yeah, it's crazy. But and then you hear lots of people like I love Michael Bubbley's version of it. That's a really great one. But yeah,
But again, he's a jazz artist who is covering a song that, or a crooner covering a song in that kind of style.
Crooner. That sounds like a dirty word.
I know it does.
Whenever I used to, I mean, I love all the old crooners. I love Sinatra. I love Engelbert Humperdinck, Dino. I love all these guys. Like I would come home from a show, especially when I first moved to Florida. I'd come home from a show and just be beat, and come out and turn, light all the torches outside, and turn the pool light on, and just sit there and just chill out and listen to Sinatra and Dino, and people come over the house, and the neighbours would hear me go, "What's going on over there?" Like some old guy would just move in. It's like, well, yeah, but not quite as old as you think. Yeah, I think it's crazy when people are surprised that I like this kind of thing, and yeah, people say, what's your favourite genre? Which I think is crazy. Like, how can you have a favourite genre? It's just nuts.
Well, you listen to a lot of different music. So.
Yeah, but making it a competition that there has to be the best of something is to me, it's like my mum told me when she was growing up in the 60s, like, you could either be a Stones fan or a Beatles fan. It's like, that's just mental.
But you had to choose?
Yeah, like, how can you not be a Stones fan? How can you not be a Beatles fan? It's just, what? But, people do that. It has to be, when I was on TV, like, people always wanted to know me. Asked me, oh, what genre are you? And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. But other people would be asked, what genre? Oh yeah, well, I'm pop, or I'm jazz, or I'm this, or I'm that. I'm like, wow, that's quite limiting, and I don't really understand that.
How would you describe yourself?
As a musician.
So back to the Van Morrison part of it. I think, again, because you do have the hat, you've got the beard, you have a certain style. And I think that's one of the pleasant surprises for people.
Fair enough. Yeah, I understand. Right. Fair enough. I do get that. However, when I'm out and about and I don't have my hat on, people hear me talk and they're like, "Oh, I didn't expect that accent coming out of someone who looks like you." And I'm like, "What do you mean, someone who looks like me?" People where I'm from have looked like this for over 1,000 years. What do you mean? No, you look like me. Knock it off. Anyway, Van Morrison. Van Morrison, right. Yeah, it's just a cool song. It's a really kind of sexy kind of, and I see most people play it like, I think it's a, well, it's a marvelous night, etc. Ad infinitum. But then I always like the kind of makes the song, and
it's a swing. It's
yeah,
a swing
element
out
there. So I just thought, one day I was like, well, maybe if I do the, nice, and then throw a little octave in there, and then you try and sing along to it, and it's if you play and sing for 4 or 5 hours a day, stuff like that starts to become easy.
Another song I want to talk about is your cover of Nothing Compares to You.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about, first of all, that there are people who still do not understand who wrote that song.
Well, it's a Prince song, quite clearly. So Sinead O'Connor covered it in early 90s, maybe not 89, 90, something like that. And she did change it up a bit, and I think everyone who's covered it since then has done it. There's a subtle chord change difference in the chorus when you come into the "Nothing Compares to You" line. Definitely check it out. I mean, it's Prince, so it's amazing. And then a bunch of other people covered it. Chris Cornell did it quite famously a few years ago. May he rest in peace. And then I saw a year or two ago, I saw Pink do a version of it, which was show-stopping. I think she did it in London, and it was it was insane. So yeah, I like to listen to all these kinds of people and see what I can steal here and there, and just
Well, but let's talk about your approach to Nothing Compares to You
My
when you're
approach?
playing it. Yeah.
My approach to it, I don't really know. I just kind of
Because it is, I mean, people think of it as a love song. It's a breakup song. It's actually a very sad song.
It is a very sad song, and I tell you what, sometimes I know, especially I can tell when the show's going particularly well, and I get to that song, so what I do, I try and start it out really quietly. It's been 7 hours and 13 days, and then kind of build it up and put the first line. Nothing compares to you. And then by the time I get to the end of the last chorus, if I can almost bring myself to tears, then no one else out there stands a chance. So. All right. Oh, the bluegrass thing.
Yes.
It's funny because people won't notice unless they've seen me live. I do have a version of Blackbird on YouTube. But if you see me live, you'd know I'd start it off with
So let's talk a little bit about why you start, and this is often a song that you will open a set with, right?
Yeah. Well, I always opened it because I opened with a set, opened that song with a set. I have done for a long time. It's a civil rights song written by an Englishman who came over to this country in the 60s, and it's always, it's kind of, I'm an Englishman who's come, I lived in the South for quite a long time, and, I've seen a lot of it. And I think the juxtaposition with the dual and banjos is quite tasty, and not many people get it, but it's fun. I get it.
Yeah. Speaking of civil rights songs that you cover, you do a Buffalo Springfield song.
I do.
So people can sometimes catch that. And
that's a great song.
Yeah. So let's talk about that because it's interesting. We were having this discussion not long ago that it's a song that echoes as relevantly now as ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And it starts off with really cool. And I do it. Sounds way better when there's a mic in there.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's great, man. That one and I love those songs when people don't realise they're protest songs. It's fantastic.
So we're sitting here at Evie's rooftop in Clearwater Beach. So you actually, yeah.
That's actually the clear water to which they refer.
That is. The beach is just that way. So, but you actually play up here on Monday nights, not at Evie's, but you play in Clearwater Beach.
Do
so, it's one of the places people can come see you play. So, but this is part of kind of this conversation. You, or some of the places that you play, being that we live here in a tourist area, you get people who come down, they recognize you from TV, or they've been down here before and have heard about you or seen you. So, but what are
in Indiana? Or...
Yes, other places. So, what are you do play some songs that are kind of more, I guess, popular in tourist destinations. What's a politic way of saying that?
To be honest, I try not to play anything that I wouldn't listen to. You know, I don't. When people ask me to play Margaritaville, I don't play it. You know, like I ain't that guy. You know, I play it because I like it, and I don't. You know, many people have got me to tried to get me to play songs. Very, very good friends of mine have tried to get me to play songs, and I just no, I won't do it if I don't like it. So everything I play, I like for genuinely like. Whether it's like Jimmy Buffett, Pirate Looks at 40. Mind you, Pirate Looks at 40 isn't really a massive. People don't ask me for that very often, but there are some like. I don't think Jimmy Buffett wrote a bad song, but you get sick of some of them, and I don't blow out a flip flop for anybody.
That was good. That was good. You do some versions of songs and have had people come up to you and say to you, I don't even really like that song, but I like your version of it. Or I like your version of that song better than the original. So this is part of you being a musician and doing...
Yeah, I don't think that's really fair though, because like, I mean, you're absolutely right, that does happen a lot. People say that to me an awful lot. But like, the song's already been a hit, you know? By the time I get a hold of it, at least, the cover songs that I do, they've all been hits. Like, I've already got a leg up. I didn't have to write it. It's an already amazing song. You might not like the guy's voice. I mean, that's kind of where I step in. That's kind of my specialty. So, while I understand it and I appreciate it, I think I get a little bit too much credit. And yeah, I do like change things up a lot to suit but that's like just to suit my own needs. Like, it's a lot easier for me to do my licks and tricks and stuff than it is to sit and learn Eddie Van Halen's meticulously, and loads of guys do that, and good, more power to them. But yeah, if I go, what key is this in? Oh yeah, cool. Actually, I'm going to change it around so it suits me a bit better. They've already had the hit. I'll just change it a little bit, and I can piggyback off that. One thing I can definitely do is sing them.
So let's talk about Dancing in the Dark. We've actually had some conversations about this before, and we still get questions about it. This is one I think that also does surprise people, because you have taken to your point, it's a great song, but it's one that people tend to have a different approach or feel about.
Sure. Because
you've kind of stripped it down and made it very bluesy and soulful versus, and it's a little bit more of a rock anthem, I think, in some aspects.
Sure, it's funny, when I do it, I do have to like back off it a lot, because people want to start singing along to it and picking up the tempo, and they have to realise, no, that's not what we're doing with this. Because, I mean, the song itself is, Springsteen's producer came up to him after they pretty much wrapped Born in the USA, that album, and they were like, we need another hit. Just like, what do you mean another hit? It's Born in the USA. There's tons of hits on there. Oh no, we need another hit. So that's the song is about him not wanting to do it anymore, not wanting to sit in his apartment writing these songs. He wants to get out there and like stop pressuring me to do all this crap. So and like Born in the USA, another protest song that people totally misunderstand. I've tried to take that song and strip it back and get to the real heart of it, because I think, I've seen other people do it at a slower tempo, and you go, okay, that's a good starting off point. I've seen a couple of people do it acoustically. I saw a guy who was on the Norwegian Voice. I think his name was Jürgen. He did a really nice version of it. Very kind of angelic kind of falsetto. I know what it's like coming off the road, and you just don't want to do anything. You just want everyone to leave you alone, and everyone's still hassling you. And I totally get it. And that song feels like he had the shit kicked out of him, and like anybody who can relate to that will, I just kind of wanted to bring the actual song out, and because I think that's kind of where it lives. But obviously, I'm not going to second guess the boss, because he's the boss. But which is my 2 cents.
So another song that you play that always kind of becomes a sing-along, I think, or we see a certain reaction, is by kind of truly one of your idols, one of your favorites, is "Always on My Mind" by Willie.
Oh yeah. I don't remember who wrote that song. I thought he did, but he didn't. It wasn't Patsy Cline. It was like one of those chicks from back then who was like another, 3/4 and the truth.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's. I've been a massive Elvis fan. I knew that from Elvis, because he had a massive hit with it. And then. Willie did it in such a really nice way, and I love that guitar part. It's very, very pretty. I can't really say much about it. It's very slow, and you can hear every word he says, and it's quite obvious what he's saying. It's very, very pretty, and it's not that I don't want to encourage people to sing along, but it's a really nice song.
It is a nice song.
Let me do it.
You cover another fun Willie song though.
Do I?
That Willie, you last year on 420.
Yeah. Rolling up and smoking, that was fun.
Yeah, you did that as a. Do you think you might do a little something this year on 420?
I'm definitely going to do something on 420.
Maybe another song or something.
Give me an hour.
Maybe another song. Have you thought about, John Prine, who is associated with this area and did a song, Illegal Smile. I mean, there are some other songs about partaking that could be a little celebratory thing on 420.
Yeah, I don't know.
So something fun along those lines would be a good one. What's a song that you really enjoy playing? To your point, you're talking about with Nothing Compares to You, that it can move you. What are some songs that you play that you feel like actually there's an emotion or a connection, or they move you?
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. And some of them I like singing because of the register it's in, and it feels really nice when you get a nice feedback with the speaker and the mic, and it just kind of reverberates through you. It's really nice, and in the right place you can shake the room, which is quite nice. There's a ton of them. If I don't really like playing them, they'll soon drop out of my set. So pretty much anything you hear me play, I like. Except Happy Birthday.
Yeah, you're never gonna sing Happy Birthday.
Someone asked me the other day, and I was like, no, just no. Not
gonna sing Happy Birthday. No, yeah. So, looking at
it's someone's birthday every day.
It is somebody's birthday every day. Yes. It's funny you're mentioning about Always on My Mind. The songwriter, obviously, it's associated with Willie, but I believe that it was actually potentially written for Brenda Lee.
Yeah.
That's originally, I think the songwriter had approached her with it, and so in the Willie documentary, they talked a little bit about that. So, but I think Wayne Carson's who wrote the song. Somebody who's not known as a singer, but one of those. And it's funny because she's interviewed and featured in that documentary about Willie Nelson and the family. So, and talks a little bit about some of that. So, another song that you don't play live as often. I mean, here's the thing. Yes, you do. Kind of depends on the venue, I think, sometimes. But it's also one that I think surprises people. It's a love song, and that's At Last. And it actually is very, very popular on your YouTube channel. Why do you think that is?
It's a hit. It's a hit. And it's cool. And it's, but it's also one of those things, you don't hear guys sing it very much because it's quite, you got to commit to it. And I think she plays it in F sharp. No, I tell her like she plays it in F. I play it in E flat because I'm tuned down. So I play it a whole tone below her. That's still pretty up there. And it's just such a cool.
Well, and we've talked about this, that, so, of course that song is a hit. I mean, I think Etta has gotten more of recognition that she deserved. It certainly was slow in coming.
You say that, but you know, there's a...
And that's where we were going.
Yeah. I'd rather go blind, child.
Yeah. Yes. Because obviously her influence has crossed over, and they're country artists.
It was her song.
Yeah, they're country artists who are taking her influence.
I love Chris Stapleton, man.
Yes.
He does an amazing job of that song.
Yes.
But that's an Etta James song. Like the harmony the melody is there, and I don't think you would say it isn't. But people, when you said that she gets the recognition she deserves, I don't think she does.
Probably not as much as
she was, and she's still going.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Glenn Campbell. So, because you actually play several Glenn Campbell tunes.
I do.
And Glenn is kind of associated with a certain time period of country music.
Yeah. The good bit.
But, you know, he obviously had some hit songs, was a prolific writer and performer, too.
I don't think he was much of a writer, because Jimmy Webb, I think, wrote most of his songs.
A lot of his stuff, yes.
What he was an incredible guitar player who played on Strangers in the Night. He played on, I mean, he was on the, what are they called? My favourite band in the world. Out in LA, the Wrecking Crew. He was a guitar player for the Wrecking Crew for years, and he's a monster. He was a monster guitar player, and everybody knew it. Everyone in the Wrecking Crew knew he was special, and they knew something was going to happen. And he just, you know, he just had that thing where he could stand up with a guitar. I love Glenn Campbell. He'd stand up with a guitar and just leave everyone, doesn't need anything else, and just leave everyone aghast. That's really cool.
And a very different tonality though with your voices. I mean, I think so. I mean, I think your voice has a richness and a rasp and a deeper quality. He had...
It's funny, his voice is kind of, when you listen to, I mean, I do play in a lot, obviously I tune down a little bit because I play so many gigs.
Right.
But, so I do have to go a little bit lower than him. But when I was singing his songs, really helped me open that part of my voice up. Because if you listen to like Rhinestone Cowboy right at the very beginning, there's like an E or an E flat there that he sings, and it's just like, it's right down there. It doesn't sound like it because doesn't have that part of the voice, but it's really, really down there. So that kind of opened me up a little bit. And I mean, it's so weird because he never kind of strains his voice, so it's kind of the same from all the way down in his boots to all the way up here, and he doesn't. It's so weird. I mean, it's not weird. It's very, very great talent and skill. But just to sing all that, and it's him immediately. And my voice changes all the way through the register, and I kind of do that on purpose. But his is just you know who it is all the time, and it's just faultless. And his guitar playing is just ridiculous.
I think that kind of covered it. Is there a second? Can you give me a little something?
I've been walking these streets so long, singing the same old song. I know every crack on this dirty sidewalk of Broadway, where hustle's the name of the game. Nice guys get washed away like the snow and the rain. There's been a lot of compromise on the road to my horizon, but I don't wanna be where the lights are shining on me. And you have to come and see me to hear the rest of it. Grandpa's this picture here, it's all black and white. I ain't real clear, was that you there? Yeah, I was 11. Times were tough back in 35. It was me and Uncle Joe just trying to survive the cotton farm, the Great Depression. Yeah, it looks like we were scared to death, like a couple of kids just trying to save each other. You should have seen it in color. On the swamp hills taking overseas in the middle of hell in 1943. In the wintertime, you could almost see my breath. That was my tail gunner. Johnny McGee was a high school teacher from New Orleans. He had my back the day we left back. Yeah, it looks like we were scared to death, like a couple of kids just trying to save each other. You should have seen it in color. A picture's worth 1,000 words. You can't see what those shades of gray keep covered. You should have seen it in color. Song is my favorite one. This is me and Grandma in the summer sun, all dressed up. The day we said our vows. You can't tell it here, but it was hot that June. That rose was red and her eyes were blue. Just look at that smile.